It is Monday, so that's Discord recap day. Of course, I also have some picks in the video, but every Monday, win or lose, I make it my goal to recap the Discord. And the past few Mondays have been terrible recaps. You could see all the negative weeks in a row. This is where I said I locked in on June 21st. That's when I changed up my system in the Discord, and we hit 62.2 units last week. I could show you the slips I made up of this profit. This is the first one. We hit it on Monday, July 1st, so beautiful start to July. First 25x here. Second one on the Thursday, July 4th. And then we also hit some 10x's here throughout the days. This was on Wednesday, this was on Thursday, and this was on Sunday. Then I believe we hit like two other little 5x's, nothing too crazy there. But this is the bounce back week we needed. This was actually my fourth best ever week on Prizepicks. And I know that sounds crazy because it's 62.2 units, but these massive weeks do happen. You could see even in week 25, 74.6 units. The week before that was 54.7 units. These massive weeks like this wipe out all kinds of losses. And for example, this 1 week wiped out all of June's losses. I said June was my worst ever month. I also said it was my first negative month. And if I scroll through June 1st to June 30th, you see we went down 43.45 units. In this first week of July alone, we are up 62.2 units. Not only did we wipe out the losses from June, we're now up 18 units over a 37 span, which isn't crazy, but you have to consider that June was terrible for me, and I only changed my system up on June 21st because I realized there was problems, and we're up 55.25 units in that time, a little over 2 weeks. So just to show you again, from June 1st to July 7th, we are now up 18.75 units, and this is why I preach a long-term game. Yes, I know it's completely discouraging if you were in the Discord in June and you just saw loss after loss. Not to say we didn't hit some 25x's, but definitely not enough to be consistent and actually turn profits. And you saw this massive dip in the units right here, right? All the way down to 604. We are now up to 672. And of course, I expect to hit an all-time high again. It's happened before in the Discord right here, 360 peak all the way down to 290. And then we had another all-time high. And you have the dips here, right? We had this dip all the way to 479 from 559. And we get to that all-time high once again every single time. So this is why I have this graph to show you that these dips do happen and that in the long run, we will be okay. Of course, in June, I had to really adjust some things. That was my first negative month. Every other single month from November to May was positive and very positive. I've showed my month to month in previous videos. 53 units in November, 133 units in December. January is my slowest month before this June one. 25 units there, 137 in February, 73.75 in March, 88.1 in April, and 71 in May. Then I had that one negative month in June. I didn't update this yet, but it was minus 45 units. And now we're bouncing back in July. I'm up 60 units on the month so far, and we'll see how it ends. I don't know if it's going to stay around 60. We could get unlucky the next week, but let's see where it ends up. But of course, I'll be updating you on the channel, whether it's positive or negative. I know people say I hide my losses. I don't know how I hide my losses when I literally have a spreadsheet in the description showing you my losses. I go in the videos and show you my losses. I just admitted 5 times in this video that I had a negative June. And in the free YouTube picks, I recap every single pick I went over, win or lose. So let's actually do that from the last video. And this is a slip I had here. Corbin Burns with Logan Webb. Under pitcher strikeouts and the over pitcher strikeouts did cash. It was pretty easy on Corbin Burns. Logan Webb is a bit more of a sweat, but he did end up getting that 6th strikeout. Now on this soccer stack, I did end up going in the wrong direction. You can see Caicedo and Hincapi both cleared their passes attempted. I went for the double under. I explained why I went for the double under in that video. Unfortunately, they ended up going on the double over. That could have been a nice 10x like the slip above that I did send to the Discord. I went with Argentina unders here, Messi and Romero. This was a crazy sweat because you had 55 passes in the first half. Somehow we only got like 12 more in the second half. And then I had a nice little stack here in MLB with Brendan Rodgers and Diaz on their bases. So overall, we did not cash last video, but you could see how strong the correlation is here in 2 slips right in front of you. One on the Argentina stack and one on the Ecuador stack. Tonight, there is no soccer, there's no WNBA, but I do have some MLB. I'm going to show you 3 stacks that I'm leaning towards. So the first one here is Doyle on his under hits runs RBIs, and Tovar also on his 1.5 hits RBIs. A couple of things to consider when you're taking a stack. The first one is the juice. Let's look over on DraftKings. You're going to see minus 130 juice towards Doyle's under. That is amazing to see. Then you also got Tovar minus 130 juice towards the under. So 2 great props on their own, even better props to stack up, especially when you go and check the Rockies lineup. You're going to see them right next to each other, or expected to be next to each other. We got Doyle batting 2nd and Tovar batting 3rd. When you're grabbing these hits runs RBI stacks or these hits runs RBIs with run stacks, you want to make sure you're getting these guys within 1 or maximum 2 batters within each other. That is the most likely for those guys to run each other in and play together and get runs together, right? So double under on these guys, very nice because of the juice, and very nice because they're next to each other in the lineup. Now, similar concept with these next stacks. We got Carlos Santana on his under 1.5 hits runs RBIs. But now we're going with Miranda on his under half a run. Now, it's important that you wouldn't reverse something like this. You want to make sure that Santana is batting behind Miranda because he has the likeness to run him in, which would give the run for Miranda, of course, and get an RBI for Santana. It wouldn't make sense to have Santana batting 4th and then Miranda batting 5th, and you're taking their runs on Miranda. That would not make sense, of course. You would want to go with the hits, runs, RBIs behind the runner. And that's exactly what you're going to see right here. Miranda is expected to bat 4th. Santana is expected to bat 5th. Hopefully that is actually what happens, because of course these are just expected lineups. They're not confirmed. And if I'm showing you confirmed lineups, then the video will be kind of useless because the games would be starting soon. So we're going to go with Santana, expected 5th. Miranda, expected 4th with the runs on Miranda. Hits, runs, RBIs on Santana. I'll go over and show the juice on both these players. So Santana right away, minus 125 juice on his under 1.5 hits, runs. Then once again, we got Miranda, minus 125 juice on his under runs. A beautiful stack right there. Now for the third stack, exact same concept that I just went over with Miranda and Santana. Seager's expected to be batting right behind Semien. So we're going to go with his under 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs, and stack that up with Semien on his under runs. I'll just show you in the lineup where they're expected to be batting. And we have Semien expected to bat first. Seager right behind him at that 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs prop. And of course, we have to check the juice on both these players. Pretty similar to the Minnesota stack here. Minus 125 juice on Semien on his runs. And minus 125 on Seager on his hits, runs, RBIs. So these are 3 great stacks, and I'll order them from best to worst. My favorite one is going to be the Seager and Semien one. Main reason is that hits, runs, RBIs into runs is more correlated than hits, runs, RBIs into hits, runs, RBIs. Also, they're at the top of the batting order. So top of the batting order, batters are more correlated together. Like a 1-2 is more correlated than a 4-5. So that's another reason I'm liking this over the Minnesota stack. So we're going to put this right at the number 1 position. Then we got the Minnesota stack, which is pretty much as good as the Texas stack. The only problem is these guys are batting later in the lineup and they're less correlated together than that 1-2, as I just explained. Then the third best stack is the hits, runs, RBI stack. These guys have the most juice, but it's less correlated between the 2 props together. So I do like it as the third one. Now for the full format of this video, I'm going to build it off this favorite stack. For the other 2 stacks, you could use them. I'm not going to make a slip for them in this video, but just use them as a base for a 4-man. You take these 2 guys and then you go and find your favorite props. Maybe you're into NBA Summer League and you go and finish off the slip like this with a nice little 10x here. I'm going to give you guys the freedom to do what you want with these 2 stacks. I recommend turning these into a 4-power or a 5 or 6-man. So that's up to you what you want to do with those. Now for this actual Seager and Semien stack, I'm going to go over the total basis prop, and I'm going to be actually kind of stacking these 2 Cleveland players here. The first one's going to be Ramirez on his under 1.5 total bases, and the second player is going to be Kwan on his under 1.5 total bases. Now this is not nearly as correlated as hits, runs, RBIs, and runs. I honestly wouldn't say it's too correlated. The one thing that kind of adds correlation to this is the fact that if Cleveland is doing bad as a whole, then both of these guys are less likely to get additional at-bats. Because they're both at the top of the order, we got Ramirez expected to bat 3rd, we got Kwan expected to bat 1st, which means if these guys are getting 1 less at-bat each than expected, or maybe even 2 less at-bats than expected, then both these guys are getting penalized together because they both have less opportunities to actually get those hits if both of them are not getting those chances to bat. So that's why there's kind of correlation in between these 2 guys, and the reason I'm stacking them together is because both of them on their own have good juice towards the under, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. If we check out Ramirez, you're going to see minus 125 juice on his under 1.5 total bases, and same thing for Kwan, minus 125 juice on his under bases. And this is just DraftKings odds. I've checked on Pinnacle and they have even more juice than that. So I do like these guys on their own on the 1.5 total bases, but since they're on the same team, I figured you might as well get some of that positive correlation and throw them within the same slip. So this is going to be the full format for today. And like I said, with the other 2 stacks, go ahead and make whatever you want with those. Let's lock this one in.